Hey Trekkies, it's summer, and you know what that means. It's time for Creation Entertainment's Trek to Las Vegas 2025. This year, the convention has been expanded to a 5-day schedule, August 6th through the 10th at the Rio Las Vegas Hotel. Meet all your favorite Star Trek pros in one place, and hey, maybe you swing by Vic's Lounge and you see our panel. It's a great way to meet people in person and have some fun with your fellow Trekkies. If you can't make it to Star Trek Las Vegas, of course, there's also other events around the country this year. Trek to Orlando, August 23rd through 24th. There's the Trek to New Jersey, September 6th and 7th. And finally, the Trek to Chicago, November 22nd and 23rd. We're looking forward to meeting as many of you as we can this year. So make sure that you get ready to trek to Las Vegas.
Is this thing on? Hello. Welcome everyone to Open Pike Night, the podcast discussing strange new worlds and reaching out all over the world to hear from voices in the dark. If you're hearing this, then you too are welcome on stage at Open Pike Night. Our lineup is full for tonight, but as every episode of Strange New Worlds is released, you'll have the chance to step into the spotlight. I'm John T. Bolds, your MC and host for tonight, but I'm not alone on this away team. Joining me are Cameron Harrison from the Green Shirt podcast.
Glad not to be a red shirt.
And Jesse Bailey from the Sudden But Inevitable podcast.
I am a total red shirt.
Totally.
And tonight, we're discussing the first teaser trailer for Strange New Worlds, and also a shocking new twist you won't believe. We've got a great crowd for tonight of pod listeners, and the bar is well stocked. The replicators are online. I'm sorry to report that we do not have Romulan ale tonight. It is illegal. We do have some vintage blue fruit drink, though, and be sure to ask for the blue fruit drink. You'll know it because it looks like Romulan ale. And now, let's talk teaser. Our first guest for tonight is Rat on stage. Let's hear what he has to say.
Hey, I'm Rat. Just to answer your little hail, I am really excited for Strange New Worlds. I've heard that it's going to be returned to an episodic format. I look forward to being able to just pick a random episode and go. I'm not having to worry too much about what the story thus far has been. So I hope that's true. I hope that little rumor I heard was true. I'm nervous, though, about how much they're going to play up the link with Khan. I don't know. It just seems a little out of place and unnecessary. But we'll see. Maybe it will be a really cool story element. And then as far as Klingons, I really hope there's Klingons, because it would be weird to have a Star Trek that has no Klingons in it at all. But that's it. Thanks for letting me be a part of this, and peace, love. Live long and prosper.
All right, Jesse, I'm going to let you take it first because he brought up Klingons, and you have been obsessed with Klingons in Strange New Worlds.
I that's probably a fair way to put that. Really quickly, though, I just got to say thank you, Rat. We appreciate the contribution.
Our first contributor, right?
Ever.
Rat was our very first contributor. You can find him on Twitter at Rafe Langston, RAFELANGSTON.
Thank you so much.
And we are going to do our best to keep this room warm for you so that the next time you contribute, you get just as warm of a response. So, couple things there. Yes, I got to say, it does sort of feel a little shoe-horny, right? Oh, that's not the term I should have used. It
No,
does
use
feel
it
like they
all
are
night.
shoehorning the Khan relative into this show, right? I mean, but I have to point out, from what we know about it, right? All we really know is that it's Pike and his crew on the Enterprise. So, I mean, this character could be, I mean, obviously she's going to be a meaningful main character, right? But she could be there just to set up, some specific plot. It may not be, okay, we're definitely going to see Khan himself in the series. It could just be, I really, really think that this, and honestly, one other piece of news that we'll get to, I really think that this is the showrunners going, okay, there is a dedicated Pike following. but not everybody's going to recognize the name Captain Pike. We need some names in here that everybody recognizes. For example, the name Spock, right? We're going to bring back Ethan Peck's Spock. And let's throw the name Khan in there. People know that name, right? I really feel like with this era of Trek, there is a delicate balance between creating new characters and relying on the pre-established lore. Now, canon is a tricky subject, of course, in Star Trek, but I like to think that the showrunners are, they're aware of that, at least. And we can say that whether we know if they're going to try and stick to that or completely just diverge from it as much as possible, we know that they know that there is pressure, and that pressure, thy name is canon. So, to that point as well, the Klingons. We have had Star Trek with no Klingons at all. It's called Discovery Season 3 and Season 4. But, and arguably Picard. But I just want them back, and I want them back because I want to see what direction they go. Mostly, I just want to see, are we going to get Discovery Klingons in Strange New Worlds? Because that's what Captain Pike is used to seeing? Or are we going to get yet another iteration of Klingons? I got to be honest. I kind of hope we get just an entirely new version of Klingons that's just mix and matches all the best parts of the Klingons we've had up to now.
Well, if it's just what Captain Pike is used to seeing, wouldn't they all look like Ash Tyler? Just a whole race of Ash Tylers.
Well, he knows Laurel, so
I know. He knows her, but he knows Ash more. He's more used to him.
You mean Vok?
Vok, yes.
Vok. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my knee-jerk reaction to Klingons is kind of like, well, I hope not, because this is Strange New Worlds, and we only got 10 episodes, and I want 10 episodes of them discovering weird-ass new shit, new aliens, things we've never seen before. I'm sure they're going to find a way to bring in Klingons, and I'm sure I'll be fine with it. But, my knee-jerk reaction is like, I don't want to worry about that. I don't need Klingons for this show. I need strange and new.
And I'm just going to say, Rat, thank you for showing us that we are not alone. All right, next up on stage.
Hi, this is Ashlyn from the Duras Sisters podcast. I can absolutely not wait for the first season of Strange New Worlds. After seeing the cast announcements that they've made and the character announcements, I'm really excited to see who they can weave in and out of this show and what types of plots they're going to focus on. I think I'm especially excited to talk about the character who seems to be related to Khan. What the heck is going on with that? I also kind of hope and don't hope that we get to see our friend Mr. James T. So I can't wait to see what happens with Strange New Worlds. I'm literally counting the seconds.
Hi, I'm Rihanna from the Duras Sisters podcast, and something I'm very excited for about Strange New Worlds is the fact that there's such a diverse cast and that we are actually going to be getting to hear more about Dr. Minbega. We're going to get another Uhura, and I'm also very excited and really nervous them adding in T'Pring and Spock's love interest, because they might make Spock straight, which is not my favorite idea because he's played so gay in the original series and I ship him with Kirk a lot. But anyway, I'm very excited overall, especially to see Pike and Una and finally get to see more of number one and her get to actually have a fleshed out character and actually have a name and all of that. It's all very exciting. I'm just really thrilled that there's a diverse cast and that we're going to get to see all of these amazing actors come together and just to be incredible in these Strange New Worlds.
All right, that was the Duras sisters, Ashlyn and Rihanna. You can find them on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, the Duras sisters. And right now they're in the middle of their feminism series. I'm listening to the first episode of that where they cover characters from the original series / the original crew. They don't just stick with the 1960s. Cam, what do you think?
Yeah, I loved their enthusiasm one. Thank you, ladies. Also, I pretty much, I think, agree with almost all of that. Very good points. Let me kind of tackle the Noonien Singh, because the name Khan is not in the cast or characters, Jesse. It is just Noonien Singh. But yeah, I am on one hand, I'm of two minds on this one. One hand, it is like there are some interesting places they could go with a descendant of Khan. On the other hand, it is kind of just like, It's what Star Wars is doing now. It's like, does every story have to involve characters we know from previous storylines? Like, wasn't that the one big complaint about Star Trek Into Darkness was like, oh, they had to bring in Khan, shoehorn Khan. So now we're going to do it again with a relative. So I feel like they're going to do something interesting and that my worries will be proven fruitless. But yeah, I mean, that's there for sure, right?
Well, okay, here's the thing. Why is there a character named Khan Noonien Singh and a cyberneticist named Noonien Sung?
I was so confused about that.
So is there any chance that the showrunners are like, hey, what if we just cleared that up? Like, what if we put in a character that somehow has a branching, because I mean, if you think about it, right, Data's an artificial human, right?
Mhm.
And Khan is an augmented human. So maybe this is the point of convergence on their ancestral timeline where the Noonien Singh name becomes Noonien Singh and Noonien Sung, and we get like the first cyberneticist and the first, eco-bioterrorist.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Not to mention the whole Klingon connection there, but I'm not sure either of you two know what I'm talking about.
Oh, that must be DS9 territory, Jesse. John likes to hold his DS9 lore over us DS9 newbies.
Yeah, he's
Producers
swinging
note,
his...
it is not DS9.
I was going to say he's swinging his nerd knowledge above our heads.
Oh.
But to that point, you guys, I feel like I should throw this out there. In our first intro episode, we talked about where we came to Trek from, what we've seen, what we haven't seen. Since then, I figured I should probably watch as much Trek as possible that I haven't seen. So I watched all of The Cage, and it's amazing. I love it. I'm going to jump into the rest of TOS, but I am going to take a quick detour into Enterprise just to watch that pilot to see if you guys are right about how you feel about it.
Oh, it's so
Now,
good.
To the other point that was brought up, what do we think are the chances that in 2022 they put a Spock character that looks as good as this Spock does on our screens and then just play him straight? I don't think that, I mean, I see where your fears are coming from, but I don't think that those are warranted. If anything, I would think they're going to have Spock be canonically bisexual. That would be my guess.
I hope so. I mean, it seems with Discovery's track record, like, why wouldn't they?
Right.
If you're going to do some fan service, do some of the slash fiction fan service.
The original fan fiction, right? Like the original slash fiction. Like if there were any time to canonize that in the name of Trek with a capital T, I think this might be the time to do that.
Now,
why not just have it happen?
Fair. Why not? They may be waiting for a certain person who is very opposed to that to maybe pass on and not be so active on Twitter. Speaking of that, Mr. James T. Kirk. Funny that the Duras sisters here brought that up.
Yeah. So today, it is now confirmed by the official Star Trek account that James T. Kirk will be appearing in season 2 of Strange New Worlds. So that also, I mean, I'm pretty sure we already had a second season confirmed.
Yeah.
But there has been, this is today, as we record, this news officially dropped, I think something like 3 hours ago. Just really threw a wrench in everybody's plans for today. But hey, we keep going on. There's obviously been a lot of discussion about this on Twitter specifically. People up in arms, a lot of people, I haven't seen a whole lot of people super happy, but a lot of people are trying to be like, hey, they're just saying he's in the season. It could be for, it could be for a mirror universe. It could be one episode. It could be just a, Steven Seagal executive decision. He's on screen for 5 minutes and then they kill him. It could be any number of things.
What a reference.
Just really quickly, I mean, think about all the things that could be speculated on based on that. Like, put aside for a moment the fact that I am deeply upset that I had to find this out via like a news release and not by watching the show.
Not a cool, step out of the shadows musical sting. Yeah.
Like, I'm probably in the minority there. Like, people want to know the things, right? But like, not me. I want to watch the story and be like, oh, F, that is Kirk. Like, the first time I saw the Enterprise at the end of Discovery, I lost my shit, you guys. I was like, okay, are they really doing this? And then they started ticking over those numbers, counting out 1701. Like, that was huge for me. And I wasn't in the Trek Twitter world at the time, so I didn't get spoiled. But yeah, putting aside that I kind of wish I could have seen this naturally. Speculate wildly. What do you guys think? Does this mean, Captain Pike leaves in season 2 and now this is following a different crew? Does this mean, like you said, do you think it's a cameo? Like, what do you guys think? Give me your number one guess, and then I promise we'll go on.
Because before we found out about that, I was thinking, like, when we speculated about what's going to happen in Strange New Worlds, I was going to be like, oh, they're going to bring in like more and more of the original crew until they've got the full complement. Sulu, Chekhov, Scotty, the whole gang, except for Kirk, and then the final episode, they'll reveal Kirk either as a character or like, from behind shot or something, passing the torch. Hearing that he's in season 2, does that mean Strange New Worlds is only going to be 2 seasons? I kind of doubt that. I'm guessing he's probably going to be in one episode. They're going to like meet up with another ship and he's going to be serving on it and help them out with a strange new mission.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a 1 episode thing. I do like the idea of it being a mirror universe thing. That's
fun.
Especially, if they do 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons down the line and Kirk becomes captain and a couple of people are like, all right, I kind of remember this guy from the mirror universe. Like, has he got a goatee? Is he good? All right.
What if they're backdoor piloting the rest of the original 5-year mission?
Man, yeah, it would be such a slap in the face. Like, New Trek has asked a lot of Trek fans, and promising episodic, which we might hear as a theme tonight, episodic series, and then to just be like, oh yeah, you get 1 season of Pike, and then it's Kirk, and we're just gonna go straight to the original series. I think that would burn a lot of bridges with people.
Yeah.
All right, here's our next guest.
This is Robert from Science Fiction Remnant, and boy, am I excited about Strange New Worlds. I always wanted to know more about Captain Pike, and, we got a little bit of him in the show Discovery, but I am so excited to see there's going to be a show dedicated to that. If you remember the original Star Trek, we only got 1 episode, and, where we get to see him, and then the other episodes where we see him after he had the accident, but we don't know much aside from what we know of in Discovery. And this just gets me goosebumps because I'm going to get to learn a lot more about him and his path in Starfleet.
All right, thank you, Robert, again from the Science Fiction Remnant podcast. Search for #ThisIsSci-Fi and you'll find more information about his show and some other shows. Yeah, I enjoy this kind of enthusiasm. That this is kind of what I was hoping for reaction wise. Like, it's exciting. This is an exciting thing coming. Robert comes at it with no agenda. It seems like he wants to learn more about Pike, and I'm kind of the same mind. It's funny to me, Jesse, that you were talking about how up in arms a little bit you are about the Kirk revelation and it coming out online, because it's literally the opposite of what we were chatting about earlier today with me not wanting to be deep in the details of the podcast and you saying, oh yeah, I'm gonna have all kinds of information about it. And then this afternoon the Kirk revelation kind of turned everything on its head a little bit. What do you think?
Yeah, like I said, I almost was struggling, like, do I send this link to them? Because I saw yesterday somebody had walked past the set and seen that they were filming, and they said, hey, look, somebody wearing a yellow shirt, and he's got the right number of stripes on his cuffs to be a captain, right? So it was like, that definitely changed things up. But for me, I actually didn't know Pike before Discovery. I hadn't seen The Cage or The Menagerie prior to watching the Discovery series. So I just knew Pike from the 2009 movie series, right? Where it was like, okay, so he was there before Kirk was, and I knew that he was some kind of like homage character in that movie, but I didn't know anything beyond that. So I actually, to Robert's point, I love the Pike that I was introduced to in Discovery, and I'm really excited to get to know more about him. I think my favorite thing about his character in Discovery is that he just explicitly states, my father was a scientist, and he also taught comparative religion. And if you watch the short trek with Spock in number 1, where Spock is first arriving on the Enterprise, and he's trying to learn all he can about Pike. She basically tells him, like, dude, the only thing that Pike loves more than hearing other people's opinions is changing his own opinion after he's heard it. And it's like, that's not really the kind of Star Trek captain that we're used to. I mean, it's the kind of ideals that we're used to from a Star Trek captain, right? But we don't always see them embody those ideals, really believe in their teammates, really have faith in their crew members' ideas the way that Captain Pike does. And I don't know if it's an Anson Mount thing or if it was the writers. I'm sure it's some combination of those things. But I agree with Robert 100%. I am so ready for more details on this Pike. He seems like just such a cuddly space dad, like in the way that, like, well, in the way that you're thinking, but also in the way that he would listen to you if you had a problem, and he would help you try to solve it. And he might even call you Scout when he did it.
Yeah, let's talk about Pike. I guess we should in this podcast. I wanted to ask you guys, I mean, you kind of just answered it, Jesse, but because I agree, I'm not a huge fan of Discovery. I'm rooting for it. I think it's got good foundations, but especially season 2 just felt like they took the entire season, put it in the amp from Spinal Tap, cranked it to 11, and left it there for the whole time. The tension to 11. But that's neither here nor there. What I did love about season 2 of Discovery, amongst other things, mostly was Captain Pike. He was a great addition to the crew. He kind of felt like he grounded a lot of it. But I don't know really why I love him so much. He does kind of seem, on paper, almost too good. He's kind of a blend of the best parts of all of our captains. He's got the he can fly by the seat of his pants like Kirk. He's very diplomatic about the chain of command like Picard. He's got the enthusiasm of Archer. Those are the captains I'm familiar with. But he feels like a combination of all that. It's like, where are his flaws? What makes him interesting? What makes him dramatic? I don't know, but something about Anson Mount's charm just draws me in, and I do want to know more about him. And I bet we're going to learn a lot more of those sides of him in this upcoming show, especially because now, of course, he is kind of carrying this burden, this weight of the knowledge of his fate, which certainly makes him more dramatic and interesting.
Let's hear what our next guest has to say.
Hey, it's Josh over at the Brick Pit, fresh off the trailer for Strange New Worlds. I have to say, I am actually excited. Just something I hadn't been able to say about Trek in quite some time. I am not the biggest fan of Discovery or Picard. Anson Mount, Rebecca Binge, and everyone seems to be doing a great job of capturing the flair of early Trek. The trailer, nitpicky. I didn't like the windmills. They seemed out of place. If it's the future, we should probably be beyond windmill technology. And they just look kind of ugly. I know it was trying to read, hey, look, it's the future. I didn't like it. I didn't understand why Pike had retired and they had to pull him back in. Hopefully they'll have a decent explanation for that. I did like that they showed Strange New Worlds, so we may have episodic television again that is good. Fingers crossed. Optimistic. Can't wait to see it. Can't wait to share my thoughts on episode 1.
All right. That was Josh from the Bricked Pit podcast. That is bricked as in a bricked wall. Jesse, I saw you shaking your head. I'm kind of curious of why there are windmills too, like modern day windmills 200 or 300 years in the future.
They look really
like,
contemporary.
Those should be vertical vane windmills.
I have an answer if you want to hear it.
No, I don't want to hear it. John,
okay.
You want to hear it? No, give it to us.
It pertains specifically to our friend Josh's question as to why it might appear that Pike is retired or at least out of Starfleet in this teaser and needs to be convinced to come back. I personally think that all the shots of him riding around on the horse in the snowy, wonderful area are an illusion. I don't believe there's an official word yet, but I believe that this series takes place after Disco Season 2, and Pike was going, you know what? It's really weird to know for sure 100% how I am going to end up at the end of my career. There's got to be a way that I could like process this without putting other people in danger. Oh, I'll go to that forbidden planet where those alien mentats live, and they will just help me do it. I'll have like this, man, there are so many references that I cannot use because of you, Cameron. I'm going to go have this like mental vacation where I can work through all these feelings and in a non-reality but totally real feeling way, just kind of process those. So to me, that kind of that would explain why Pike, we see him on a horse in a desert in the poster, and we see him on a horse in the snow in this teaser. So, okay, am I meant to think that he brings his horses with him on the Enterprise? Or is this maybe where Pike is happiest, is riding a horse out on the open range with no responsibilities and not trying to think about Starfleet or his future or that kind of a thing, and thus the kind of place that he would be in an illusion created by his somewhat not necessarily adversarial friends, the Telosians. So I think that these shots in the teaser are part of an illusion, and that shuttle swooping in is the crew going, dude, okay, it's time to come back. Your therapy session needs to be over. We need you. And then he shaves off that beard with a straight razor that has a single delta carved into the scales.
Oh, I think he should just shave it
looks
off
out
with
the
the
window.
delta, with the comm badge.
Well, maybe if it's one of the new comm badges from Darkfleet, but then he's going to look out that window with all kinds of hope and new purpose, just like he did at the end of the teaser, and that'll be the end of the first or second episode. But I agree that I'm very excited for Episodic Trek. I disagree that disco wasn't fun.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy your theory, Jesse. It's a lot of fun, and I think there might be something there. I don't know if I agree with all the where all the red string leads on it. The trailer was interesting in that it did kind of pose, oh, maybe this doesn't take place right after Discovery 2. Because, yeah, either he quit for some reason beforehand, maybe because of the incident with the Telosians, he quit Starfleet, and then they had to bring him back, and these are the voyages leading up to Discovery Season 2. Or, and it would make perfect sense, right, that he finds out about his fate and he needs some time, you know, that messes with him. Even though in the heat of the moment at the end, at the climax of Season 2, he was fine with it because the universe was about to end and he had to be fine with it. And over time, he would need some time off and maybe he'd quit, maybe he'd think about it, maybe with the Telosians, maybe not. I do feel like then his life interconnects with the Telosians 3 times. Again, that kind of seems to go back to like, are we just going to rely on them every time? I don't know. But so it makes sense from a logical point of view. From a storytelling point of view, I would bump on it a little bit. That he, at the end of Season 2, it's him, it's the crew, it's the Enterprise. He's hitting it. He seems, you know, not fine. I'm sure much of what the serialized character arc that we're going to get in the show will be about him dealing with the knowledge of his fate. But to go back and need to be convinced to come back on is going to seem a little weird. So I hope there is something to yours,
yes.
Jesse, that it's not exactly what the trailer is presenting.
I'm going to firmly plant my flag that the first episode of Strange New Worlds starts with a debrief of the entire Enterprise crew about the loss of the Discovery, and he gets dragged through the mud a little bit for losing a ship and having to tell all these families that all their family members are dead when he knows they're not, and then he has to take a little administrative leave. But let's go ahead and hear from our next guest, who is Joe. He sent us in writing. He said, I want to see some episodes centered around Una. She's the only one from the main 3 that we haven't seen very much out of a short trek and a couple of seconds in Discovery Season 2. I like what I saw in the teaser, what little there was. I'm curious about the lightning storm in space. It has a very Kelvin-verse vibe to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also just really glad to have episodic Star Trek again, so we're starting to see a theme here. That was from Joe at the Funnest Frontier podcast at Dex Lower on Twitter.
Yeah, I had kind of a similar reaction to the giant space storm, too. I kind of bumped on it because it seemed like scale for the sake of scale, which is, I feel like, what a lot of Star Trek is trying to do these days. Like they are so desperate to make their TV shows look cinematic. And after especially some of the Discovery seasons, I'm like, do we need more like world threatening? It just looks so big and like the stakes are so big. I don't know. I'm sure it'll be cool, but that was my initial reaction. It did feel very Kelvin-verse in like just trying to make it. Like when the ship crashes into San Francisco into darkness, I'm like, this is ridiculous. We don't need to take out all of San Francisco in this moment. Like the stakes are all emotional here. We don't need this giant disaster porn. It feels very disaster porn. I finally found the term I was looking for.
And then they up the stakes, quote unquote, and beyond by having a city crash into a city. It's like, but there is something to be said for that attempt at scale, right? And actually, I think one of the first screen caps that I put out the day of the teaser was, oh, is this one of our typical alternate timeline birth machine style lightning storms in space. And a lot of people went, oh, maybe. And
I mean, it is a gorgeous single image.
Oh, yeah. But it is to be very Trekkie about it. It looks a little bit different than the lightning storm in space that caused the Romulan incursion in the 09 series. It's much more of an atmospheric storm on a grand scale. It appears to be, at least.
I'm going to go with a just physics nerd here. Look at that. That planet either has to have the heaviest gravity to have an atmosphere that thick for there to be a lightning storm with clouds, or I'm going to go with that was like a massive meteor strike, something big enough to hit a planet to drive something like that, which leads to a rescue effort, which leads to a relocation effort, something like that. Bringing Kelvin in on season 1 is a bridge too far for me. So we'll see. I mean, I could be wrong. I have no problem being wrong. I just like to fight.
Oh, I
Jesse,
do.
So yeah,
I'm going to stand over here.
Wrong. Mommy and Dad are fighting.
I'm going to fight like a couple spies in an old movie. So let's go ahead and listen to our next guest.
I'm Agent Scott.
And I'm Cam the Provocateur, beaming in.
And we are the Spy Hards podcast. Now, every week we talk about spy movies, but you've given us an impossible mission, and that is to step on over and talk about Strange New Worlds. Now, you may know Cam and I actually met at a Star Trek convention.
That's right, in 2013, I believe it was. And I am ultra excited for Strange New Worlds. I am a diehard TOS fan, so boy, you could not make a Star Trek show more aimed at me right now.
Yeah, so I mean, I suppose what the Green Shirts have set us down to do is to firstly talk about the trailer that dropped today as of this recording, and also just our quick expectations for the show. Now, for me, the trailer was, I don't want to say underwhelming, it's a teaser trailer. Like, it's not supposed to really give you anything. You get the shot of Anson Mount riding a horse with a beard. I never thought I'd get that out of Strange New Worlds.
No, that's very true, and I think that's probably Tango, the horse that we saw in the cage. Fingers crossed. So that was very exciting. It wasn't a teaser like the Picard teasers, for example, that throw like data out there, or Q. It doesn't have those sorts of things to offer. I think this was more of a tone trailer, where it's like, okay, we have a Pike who's maybe had some moments to kind of reflect on his place in the world and coming back to the Enterprise. And honestly, this show seems to be promising ... Strange New Worlds.
Oh, we had to transport the Spy Hards guys off stage from the menagerie of our speakers into the cage. I'm sorry, guys, you went over the 90-second limit for our entries, but you made some excellent points in there. Cam, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, just going back to like how this feels like old Trek and everyone's excited for the episodic Trek, I am more surprised than anyone to agree with that. I, like Josh on Jesse's podcast, the Sudden But Inevitable podcast, am a sucker for serialization. I was always the one person who didn't want the Monster of the Week episode for X-Files. I wanted more mythology episodes, even though they weren't as good. So I love serialization. Discovery is the one show that has made me want less serialization. It made me want more episodic. So it's primed me so much for Strange New Worlds. And of course, I think what it is, like I kind of mentioned before, and what the showrunners have basically said, that yes, it's going to be more episodic, but the serialization is going to come through the character arcs. And that's what I love. Like, yes, let's let the plots wrap up episode to episode. But of course, the character changes proceed, and each episode makes logical sense as far as the characters go. So I'm very eager to see that, especially with, you know, what we know about Pike, and especially what they could do with some of these other characters, both new and beloved.
And that's a really good point. I think that's actually, I think you just nailed what I love so much about The Next Generation. Mm-hmm. It is week to week, right? There's almost no carryover, like as far as consequences go, like big consequences that you would think of. But there are some character moments that stick throughout the series, and they start to stick more and more as the series goes on, you know? So I wish I could talk about the end of that series with you, but
one day
it does feel like a return to, you know, my home Trek was The Next Generation. That's my favorite Star Trek series. And it feels like this is someone in the Kurtzman umbrella going, what if we just did TNG? But, you know, we'll say it was when Pike was around. We could do that.
And that is definitely one of the things that I'm most excited for. Now, to the other point of that probably being Tango in the teaser, I agree, because I really doubt we're going to get to meet his other horse, because her name was Mary Lou. And that's just a person's name, and that's just weird. So I don't think we're going to meet Mary Lou the horse in Strange New Worlds.
Okay, we found a hill Jesse is willing to die on, I think.
That is an amazing hill to die on. All right, I love it.
You guys think, okay, fan cast Mary Lou the horse. Who would you guys pick? Because I know who I would pick, and I don't think they can afford her. So,
the only thing I will say, seeing, if I could pick one fan service moment, like really, like I get to invent a fan service moment. It's like, okay, we get to see Pike on his horse, going a little hell on strange new wheels there for us. But he's riding around. Maybe he happens to pick on, Picard on his horse and Kirk on his horse, because we've seen them both on horses together. Like, maybe we just get a whole horse episode of all the captains. Janeway rides up on a horse. Sisko rides up on a horse. I mean, come on, let's just get a whole horse episode out there. It'll be the one right after the Pike, Strange New Worlds era Naked Now episode. People can just be like, all right, those were two weird ass episodes, and then back to the fun.
Question: will we see Pike in Jodhpurs? And that question was for an audience of one.
Question:
you know who you are, Marcy.
Did you just ask if we would see the Naked Time followed by a horse episode? Maybe we should just have our next guest on stage. What do you guys think?
Hey everyone, it's Abby Summer from First Flight Podcast. We're an Enterprise Rewatch podcast hosted over on the Tricorder Transmissions Network, and we are so excited for Strange New Worlds and for your new podcast about it. That teaser was amazing. Just the visuals are everything you could want in a new era Trek, while still holding that old spirit from the original. And Pike with a beard on a horse doesn't get much better than that. And was that mysterious voice possibly Robert April? So many more questions from such a short little clip, but that's what we love. I'm also really personally excited to see Christine Chapel and to get her character fleshed out a little bit more. She was always fascinating to me from the original series, so I can't wait to see this new take on her. I'm wondering who you guys are most excited to see outside of our big three. I mean, this supporting cast has a lot of heavy hitters and a lot of potential. So who are you most excited to see? Good luck on the podcast. Can't wait to watch Strange New Worlds and hear all your thoughts.
All right. Thank you, Abby. That was Abby. She's from the First Flight Podcast and Enterprise Rewatch on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. First Flight on Twitter and Instagram at First Flight Pod. You can find her on YouTube with the Tricorder Transmissions Network, and she is personally on Twitter at Abby M. Summer.
And we did not ask her to ask us a group question, but that was great instincts. So you can tell she's a good podcaster. Yes. I love that. Yeah. What do you guys think?
I mean, Cam, you brought it up earlier, like bringing on piece by piece the Kirk Enterprise era crew. I am probably looking forward most to seeing that start to happen. I was like, oh man, it would be really fun someday to see Kirk. And then of course we got the news today. So I was like, all right, I do like, if they're bringing Kirk on, then eventually we are going to see some others. It's like, I'd love to see Chekhov, Sulu, Scotty. And honestly, the first one I would hope to see would be McCoy. Like, I would really love to see Strange New Worlds version of McCoy.
So I have mixed feelings about all of that. There is part of me that's like, is this going to be another Spider-Man situation? Like, did we not just have let's see the original crew as younger cadets movies? And I mean, whatever your opinions are on the J.J. Abrams movies, I enjoy them. What I enjoy most about them, I think why I enjoy them, is because I've always loved the characters of those shows and movies, and I think they nailed the characters. So to see, the Strange New World version of the characters, part of me is like, do we need that? But part of me is like, well, great. These are fantastic characters. Let's see what this version is. I'm sure it'll be good. So having said that, I do think my most excited character is Uhura, because, she was a groundbreaking character at the time, historic character, but, she was still boxed in by the time. They would only let her do so much. And, over time, they kind of let her grow more and more. And, of course, in the Kelvin verse, she got to do even more. But, yeah, to be able to see that kind of old school version of Uhura in a modern, contemporary perspective, I think they can do a lot with that character that is going to be super exciting.
So this one's actually difficult for me to answer because, as we have established, I'm a bit of a fanboy, and I love Ethan Peck's Spock. I don't know that a bunch of people were complaining about Ethan Peck's performance. I understand the, why does Michael need to be related to Spock, quote unquote? Do we have to Cameron's point, do we have to shoe in all these characters from, previous media? But clearly somebody at Discovery went, oh, we need name recognition. Let's have her be related to Spock, and then we'll literally just bring him into the second season. I like that Spock because he is younger. He's still, learning to balance emotion and logic. He is, one of those emotions in particular being, ambition and wanting to impress, which sort of ties into pride. And how does that affect a Vulcan? And I really like seeing a little bit, I don't want to say a grittier Vulcan, I think maybe a more relatable Vulcan in Spock, because I know he's going to become a wise old man, right? I want to see the version of him that sometimes smiles when a weird thing happens or when he thinks humans are very strange, I'm not a purist. I don't need him to be a 100% logic machine. But outside of that, I'm hoping that Melissa Navia's character, Erica Ortegas, is a future retcon fix to the Tasha Yar character. I'm hoping that we get a character that is strong and independent and badass and good looking and all of the stuff that Tasha was right on the edge of getting to be before the series said, okay, no more Tasha. So I'm really excited for the Ortegas character as well, personally.
All right, let's go ahead and hear from our next guest.
Hi, my name is Peter, and here are my impressions of the Strange New Worlds trailer. Overall, I liked it very much. It did its job by showing short snippets of different worlds while not giving away anything about the plot and characters of the show itself. Two things which stood out to me was its use of a TOS communicator chirp, and especially in the last seconds of the trailer when it played the original Star Trek theme music. That snippet of music reminded me very much of TOS and was my favorite part of the trailer. While I enjoy the serialized nature of Discovery and Picard, I prefer the episodic approach to storytelling which Star Trek used during the Berman era. I am very excited for the return of episodic live-action Star Trek. Thank you for starting this podcast, and I look forward to listening to your discussions about Strange New Worlds. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Peter. You can find Peter on Twitter at PeterTrek1, and he thanks us for having an open mic section on this podcast, and he's looking to maybe start his own podcast in the future. And all I can say is, Peter, go for it. It is fun. It is an exercise in stress and excitement, and yeah, it, like I said in our intro, it is an addictive activity. So what do you guys think about the tie-ins to the original series?
Well, let me just say real quick, this is our first real episode, right, guys? And we kind of figured out this podcast along the way as we were going, kind of stumbled into it, and we didn't really know how this would work. And so far, I'm loving hearing these open pike thoughts. I think it's great. So I hope our listeners are too.
Yeah, I will say, from the first email I got from Rat, and I actually got a little emotional hearing the first clip submitted, and everyone that's come in, I'm the only one that has heard these clips. These are Jesse and Cam are hearing these for the first time as we record this, and it is, I'm really glad we're doing this too. So, yeah.
I'm known for being a little bit of an emotional pushover on my own podcast, so I'm glad that one of you guys brought it up. I seriously, just to have a response that is positive to a thing that you put on the internet feels impossibly heartwarming. So thank you for all your contributions and for giving us a shot and spending a little bit of your time to send us something. That's huge. Thank
Absolutely.
you. That means the world to us. I think it was probably maybe 15 minutes after the first time I saw the teaser, I just put out, okay, are we going to get vocals in this theme song? What do you guys think? I'm of two minds here. Obviously, I want the vocals. Do the vocals. Don't be cowards. I also understand that it might be more practical to just use that super nifty theremin for all of the vocal pieces. I also would be okay with a brand new theme. It's a new show. We've got, a new crew. Give me a Giacchino adventure style theme. Pay homage to the Goldsmith notes, but that's where I'm at. I want to know, what do you guys think? Are we going to get the vocals, or are we going to get a new theme?
I think we're going to get vocals in a new theme.
Ooh.
I think there will be elements of the original theme, but in a new composition.
I'm picturing one of the most pared down minimalistic themes because I will say I love the Discovery theme song. I think it is a fantastic piece of music. I'm on the fence about the Picard one.
I love Lower Decks and Prodigy. I think those are great also.
Yeah, I haven't heard the Prodigy one yet. Lower Decks has a fantastic theme. I'm picturing maybe they just go a little more minimalistic, but I wouldn't be surprised to hear some vocalization, maybe not words, but some vocalization. Maybe
Sure.
Maybe a choir in there.
Yeah, the chirp of the communicator, he brought that up. I was wondering, and I could be wrong here, maybe I'm way off base, but it feels like a lot of Trek promos like to do the same thing where they set it, the first few images are very contemporary feeling. It's not necessarily the future, it's a very contemporary looking windmill back there. And then they bring in like the Star Trek elements to draw you into the trailer, which I mean is a good technique, and I feel like they do it a lot. Can you guys think of other examples, or am I just making that up?
They did it with the
09 a little bit with it was just welding, and then they pulled back to see that it was a spaceship.
Right, but then they also that first trailer was just Kid Kirk on the scooter or whatever, and he gets out of the car, and it all looks normal until you see that the robot or that the police officer is a robot.
That's right.
And then you're like, wait a minute, and
that's a Trek right there. That's a Star Trek.
Now that's a Star Trek.
It does seem that every good Starfleet captain has a unhealthy obsession with 21st century and 20th century American Earth.
Why do you want to go to space so much if you love old shit?
Just go to San Francisco. You've literally all been to San Francisco. Half of you are from California. If you watch Discovery, you know that half of them are literally from California. Yeah. So it's I do think that lends credence to why would Pike have all that weird old technology in a cabin? Maybe he's got a weird obsession with it, or maybe it's just a Telosian illusionary approximation of what humans like. We did see a very old rotary phone right next to that communicator, to your point, Cameron, juxtaposing the future with the contemporary. So it is probably mostly a device, but to that point, I hope they go all in with it. Lean into it. Go crazy psychedelic with the theme song. Give me splashing colors. I want it. They've got the splashing colors in the promo already.
We will never hear the end of it if it's all a Telosian dream. Those opening shots.
You may not, even if it isn't.
All right, and now for our next guest on stage.
Hey guys, thanks for contacting us to give our opinion on the Strange New Worlds trailer. Megan, what did you think?
I actually think it looks really good. I've not seen Discovery at all, but as someone who's a fan of the original series, I'm looking forward to seeing the story of the Enterprise and Captain Pike. So it looks really good. I like that it ties in a little bit more to the Kelvin aesthetics. So I'm looking forward to it.
I agree. I like the tie-ins that they made to the Pike we know from The Cage, where, he's riding his horse and all of that. Like you said, visually it has the feel of the Kelvin movies. And then I just liked the feel overall, to me, was similar to what, the era of Star Trek we typically cover, which is, the completed series from TOS to Enterprise. That sort of hopeful humanity moving forward vibe is what I got.
Yeah, it definitely feels like they're trying to get back to the theme of exploration with this show. Yeah, I did like the bit about the horse. Of course, I remember that from The Cage. And yeah, it should be interesting. I think of all of the new Star Trek shows, this one might be the one that I like the best, because it seems to be kind of taking the route of the Kelvin movies, which I enjoyed. So I haven't really gotten on board with the new Trek shows yet, but this one I might feel differently about.
That was the crew of the Tribbles and Transporters podcast, Aaron, Megan, and Sarah. You can find them at Tribbles Podcast on Twitter, Tribbles and Transporters Podcast on Instagram, and Tribbles and Transporters on Facebook. Thank you very much for your contribution and your thoughts.
Last time I listened to one of their episodes, there was just 2 hosts. They've been multiplying, like Tribbles. Or a transporter malfunction. Yes. No, I think that's a great perspective. Someone who hasn't seen the Discovery Pike and coming into this one to see Anson Mount first time here. That'll be exciting to see how they feel about how they grow into Anson Mount through this show as opposed to Discovery.
Yeah, and then I was thinking about that when I first heard the clip. I don't know if I would say like, oh, you really need to watch Discovery season 2 at least before you watch Strange New Worlds. I'm hoping that's not necessary. I'm hoping they didn't make it a homework assignment. You know, that is like, this is its own show. I think it'll stand on its own 2 feet.
They're going to let us know the thing about him finding out about his fate. I think they're going to have to, because that's going to come into play with his character. But other than that, you don't need to know what happened with the Discovery.
No.
That was all just another adventure for him.
If they wanted to get past all that stuff and say like 1 episode, it'd be a really easy way to do it.
Would it be a Telosian mind trick, Jesse?
Let's talk about the actual submission, which again was lovely. And I think it brings up an excellent, excellent point, which is that this really does seem to feel, through the marketing so far at least, to be a return to that just unbridled optimism of what Trek means to so many people, right? Like, no, it's not a vision of a utopia, maybe it's not perfect in every way, but it could be a roadmap. Like, if here's an aspirational goal to reach, right? Maybe if we reach beyond that, we'll at least, when we fall short, we'll at least be somewhere respectable. So I think that's a really, really good point to bring up. And it's part of why I'm hoping that they really lean into the psychedelic music for the theme, because it's like, just give me the whole vibe, man. Like, make things colorful and happy and smiling. I want everybody in scants on this bridge. I want naked time on episode 3. Like, I want casual sex to be like an activity on this show, and not like, oh, there's a relationship, right? Like, no, they're beyond that. Like, this is the hottest cast we've ever had, you guys. Like, there's so many parallels to 60s Trek.
That's why they need him back on the Enterprise. That's why they come to get him. It's like, hey, man, we missed you at the orgy, and we need you back.
Everybody else on the Enterprise has succumbed to the naked time disease. They need somebody to save them. That's
Every
why
orgy needs a silver fox. You're that fox, Pike.
Yeah, 100%. We need a guide. Keep everybody safe, healthy.
Yeah, I'm not one of those who hate seeing a darker side of the Star Trek universe. I'm okay with Section 31 stuff, but we've had a lot of it lately, and I do also agree that it's time to return to the optimism of that made Trek special to begin with. As Marcy used to always say in our Green Shirt podcast, like, Star Trek was one of the few visions of the future that was not dystopian, that was not cannibals and nuclear radiation and all that. It was something to aspire to. So yes, I agree. I'm also super hyped for that. Having said that, were there any Strange New Worlds or specific shots of the trailer that really stuck out to you guys? Anything that you're like, yes, I want to see more of that world, that cityscape?
So for me, the planet that Pike is, you can barely see Pike on the right side, but it's the planet where there's a bunch of people outside. It's like a big pavilion.
The big procession.
And they're welcoming him to their planet, or maybe giving him a grand send-off, sort of a thing. I am excited for that because we hear so much about First Contact all the time, right? Different First Contacts. Actually, fun thread here to Lower Decks. I think Lower Decks is currently holding up the torch of optimism for Star Trek on current Trek properties. And to that point, I think that they do that sort of mission, right? We see them spending time with the people that have recently been contacted by Starfleet.
Yeah.
Like, what's the next step? Like, well, you pick out a subspace phone number. You got to pick out, like all this different stuff. It's like this universe is already so rich with lore, right? And to Cameron's point from earlier about why is it always the same 10 families of characters, I'm really hoping that here we get more, yeah, it's those characters, but it's just because you know them. What it's really about is the places they're going and the aliens that they're meeting and the thunderstorms that are birthing new timelines, or, you know, maybe just crashing into a planet,
The
whatever.
titular Strange New World, so to speak.
Yeah, I love it when things are titular. You know that. So there's, and then honestly, the shot where the paper Enterprise turns into an Enterprise, I love that shot.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I'm a sucker
That's-
for that
yeah.
kind of a thing.
That was my
And-
favorite moment of the trailer.
There we go.
Excellent
All right,
submission.
Yeah. Let's hear from our next.
Hey all, Steve from Sincera here. In regards to the new teaser trailer for Strange New Worlds, I think we are boldly going where we have already been so many times before. And if you think I'm being serious about that, you're wrong. People that truly believe that, I don't need that kind of negativity in my life. This show is going to be beautiful. It looks visually stunning. We've already seen this version of Captain Pike in action. It did not disappoint. Any naysayers out there, just don't pay for it. You don't have to. That is your constitutional right. Thankfully, you also have the constitutional right to be a dumbass. And if you don't want to watch this, too bad for you. I think we've already learned from past experience that when starship captains get on horses, great things will follow. The Star Trek universe is the gift that keeps on giving, and there's plenty of other verses out there that are not giving us anything, and I'll take anything over nothing almost all the time. So live long and prosper.
All right, the night's getting long. Sincera turning on the audience there a little bit, but what do you guys think?
I think that was some of the that is some cowboy wisdom right there. I think belligerent yet wise.
We like to call that a little bit of the brown coat spice over at Sudden But Inevitable. And I think that, to Steve's point, though, when starship captains get on a horse, good things happen, right? And that can be said across media, but in particular, of course, here in the Star Trek universe, right? We had some great episodes of TNG where Picard is riding a horse, very funny, very thoughtful. You could argue that the greatest moment we got with Kirk, where he died, was right after a horse, and it wasn't that great.
Okay, I thought you were going to say, I thought you were going to say, arguably the greatest Star Trek movie of all time featured two captains on a horse.
Oh my!
Generations. I was going to say, no, Jesse, bad. You're off the show.
I was trying to imply that it was a good movie, but I will not go that far.
What I think is interesting about all that is, because I was one with like Discovery, I was like, do we need to go back to like just before TOS? Like we want post TNG. Let's get there. They eventually do. I'm about to start season 3. I'm hopeful for it. But what I like about this is that it did feel organic. Like Pike coming into season 2, I like if they're going to bring in the Enterprise at this time, yes, Pike was going to be on it. They hired a great guy to play him. Fans fell in love with this character. They demanded a show about him, and it sprang organically that way. And we wanted to see more of this actor. We wanted to see more of Pike. To our points earlier, we never got really enough of him in TOS. I think Bruce Greenwood, right, played him in the
Greenwood,
JJ.
Yep.
I think did a great job. I think he was a great character in that. It really kind of felt like that original Pike that we'd heard about, that Kirk talk about, and it was great seeing him and to see him flesh out more of the young, adventurous Pike here. I think I am super excited for, and I have no problem with that.
I would love, personally, just to get to see Anson Mount deliver that line that Bruce Greenwood got to deliver. It was something akin to, your father was captain of a starship for 6 minutes and he saved 800 lives. Man, like, give me that dynamic of Space Daddy Pike showing him how it's done, but put that right at the end of the series, right?
Yeah.
Because
that would be cool. That would be cool if we could start seeing echoes from the Kelvin timeline in the Prime timeline instead of vice versa. I could see
almost
tie-ins
like
that.
Unify those timelines.
Well, there is another Kelvin movie coming out, and they're going to want some synergy.
All right, I'm going to give this two blinking lights here. All right, no merging of the Kelvin universe.
But
and that's
think
not
about
double yes. It's not Futurama rules. All right, and we now have our last speaker for the night.
Attention, Open Pike Night. This is Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the Starship Enterprise. It has come to my attention that you have formed a new podcast based on Star Trek's latest Strange New Worlds. Excellent. Make it so. Unfortunately, it has also come to my attention that one of you has impersonated me improperly on a different podcast. While imitation is the best form of flattery, I must say it is incorrect, for it appeared that it was the late, great Sean Connery that was impersonating me. While that handsome brigand may have drunkenly found himself on the streets of Paris at one point or another and impregnated one of my ancestors, he and I are not the same. Continued impersonations of such a kind will have drastic effects on the space-time continuum. That is all.
These shocking allegations from Captain Picard can only be answered in one way, Cameron.
Jean-Luc, I have no idea what you're talking about, Jean, and I take offense at it, and I will take solace in my Earl Grey martini, shaken, not stirred.
All right.
Well,
I will.
You saved the celebrity submission for the end there, I see.
Yeah. I mean, you got to,
Jean-Luc
keep
Picard.
keep people in their seats till the headliner comes on at the end.
I can't believe he had time to record that, what with being on set for his show, Star Trek Picard, currently. That's actually, I guess season 3, which is the final season of that, just finished wrapping. So he must have recorded that immediately following wrap-up of filming.
Hang on a second. Let me see if I can find out who that was.
I was going to say, who was that? Was that you, John?
No.
That's definitely Steve.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Steve.
Sin and Sarah.
Oh.
The last two people were the same guy.
That's what you got.
He sent them from 2 different emails.
Yeah.
Sly like a fox.
That's smart.
Well played. Well played, my doppelganger.
I thought for sure you guys could tell.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Sinasara. Thank you, Steve. Before we close up shop for the night, why don't you guys give us your plugs?
Yeah, if you want to hear me talk more about Star Trek, you can tune into Green Shirt, a newbie's trek through the next generation. I am the titular newbie watching Star Trek for the very first time and denying Jesse from making all the next generation references he wants to. We are getting close, though. We are halfway through season 5, and it's super fun. Producer John is the producer of that, along with our other slightly more knowledgeable co-hosts, and we have a good time talking about Star Trek. You can find us, Green Shirt, a newbie's trek through the next generation, on all your favorite podcatchers, at GreenShirt87 on Twitter, Green Shirt Podcast on Facebook and Instagram, and we hope you check us out.
And, of course, Sudden But Inevitable is the sci-fi rewatch podcast that is mostly dedicated to single-season space westerns that were canceled mercilessly before their time. If you'd like to find that show, just go to your favorite podcasting app and look up Sudden But Inevitable. You can follow me on Twitter at Sudden But, that's 1 T. You can follow this show on Twitter at Open Pike. I am behind those tweets, and if you send me funny jokes there, they may make it into the show. So just keep that in mind.
And thank you again to Rat, the Duras sisters, Ashlyn and Rihanna, Robert from the Science Fiction Remnant, Josh from the Brick Pit, Joe from the Funnest Frontier podcast, Agent Scott and Cam the Provocateur from the Spy Hards, Abby from First Flight and Enterprise Rewatch podcast, Peter, Aaron, Megan, and Sarah from Triples and Transporters podcast, and Steve, Sinasara, thank you for bringing Captain Picard to the stage. A special shout out to the Spy Hards guys. We didn't have any bad clips this week, and we decided to use theirs as our example of cutting one short. Open Pike Night is about sharing as many voices as possible, so when you send us a clip, keep it 90 seconds or less. To join us on stage at Open Pike Night, send us a clip of your thoughts about Strange New Worlds, Captain Pike, or the next trailer when it drops to openpike@gmail.com. Abby posed us a question and opened the door, so if you have any burning questions for the Open Pike Night crew, send those as well. And be sure to include your social media details for shoutouts after we play your clip. Again, you can send those to openpike@gmail.com and follow us on Twitter at openpike. You've all been a great audience tonight. Be sure to tip your bartender. You can go anywhere you want, but you can't stay here.